In this video, I'm going to introduce the binary system, and I'm going to do it by just teaching you how to do something very simple, which is just count. And so when we learn how to count, what I want to do is not think about maybe the order of numbers as we have them kind of memorized since we were a little kid, but the pattern that there is when you actually start writing numbers down. So we'll look at the decimal system first. So the decimal system, right? We count like this. We'll start at 0 here. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when we get to 9, that's actually the 10th different symbol we have that represents like an amount of stuff. And I want to represent 10 things now, and I don't have another symbol that represents 10. So what we do is I take this symbol here and I roll it back to the very first symbol in the list, the 0, and then I increment the next column over. And in this case, it means I have to add a place. So I got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And we're down at the bottom of the column again. I'm at the last symbol, the 9. I try to increment it. There isn't another symbol that follows it in the pattern. So I roll it back to 0, and I take the next column and I increment it. All right, and this continues for a while, and eventually we'll come down and we'll get to like 98, 99. And when we get to 99, right, I have this 9. I try to increment it. I can't, so I roll it back to 0. So I try to increment the next column over. I can't, so I roll it back to 0. And I have to increment the next column over, which in this case means adding another place value. And then I can continue on counting just like we're used to, all right? So that's how you count in the decimal system. But let's go ahead and restrict ourselves a little bit. So what if we had just 4 symbols to work with, right? So I'm going to restrict myself to 0, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to try to count with those, right? So same thing as before. The very first number is going to be a 0, and then a 1, and a 2, and a 3, right? And at this point, I'm at the last symbol in the list, so I can't increment the 3 anymore. So I roll it back to 0, and I add a place value. And then I go 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. Same thing's happening again, right? I'm at the 3. I try to increment this. I can't. So I roll it back to 0. I increment the next column. That'll be a 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, right? Can't increment that. Roll it over. Increment the next. 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3. And this is kind of like our 99 situation we had earlier. So I try to increment the 3, and I can't, so I roll it over. Try to increment the next column because I had to roll this one over. Can't, so I roll it over to the beginning again. And I have to add a place value, so I have another column to increment. And then I can keep counting. All right? And I could just do this all day. Now, it's important we look at this, too, to understand that, like, I don't want to call that 10. I don't want to call that 11, 12, and so on. It's really not that. This 0 is 0 things, 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things. This 1, 0 would be how I would represent 4 things if I were in a number system that only had 4 unique symbols to represent amounts of stuff. So that's 5. That's what we think of as 5. That's 6 things. That's 7 things. You're right, and so on. Right? So this is the same counting pattern, just in a system with fewer symbols. All right, so let's restrict ourselves a little bit further, okay? And now we'll go to a system, the binary system. And this just means we have 2 symbols to work with, 0 and 1, and that's it. And let's think about how counting would look. All right, so if I were counting, I would start with 0 like I always do. And the next number would be 1. I only have 2 symbols, right? So I'm at the end of the list, which means in order for me to increase this number any further, I have to roll over the rightmost column and then increment the next column over. So now I can increment this one, and then I get to here. I can't increment that, so I roll it over. I can't increment that, so I roll it over and I add a place value so I can increment the next column. And then I go 1, 1, right? I would go like that. I can't increment this, so I increment the next. I'll increment this column. At this point, it's easier kind of to work backwards when you're writing down the numbers. I think mostly because I don't have words to describe them and like names for the numbers. I go here, I try to increment it. I can't increment the next. I can't increment the next, so I add a place value. And then let's say, well, can't increment that, so we'll increment the next, right? And I can continue doing this for quite some time. So right now, right, again, let's think of what numbers these are, right? This would be, if this is the binary number, right, the decimal equivalent, so this is your binary, the decimal equivalent, this is 0, that's 1. This is what 2 would look like if we were in a system where we have 2 symbols to represent stuff. And this is 3, and that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's counting to 10 in binary. Right? So at this point, you should be able to, I would think, continue this pattern. And you can do some simple conversions like this. Like, for example, if you wanted to know what the number 20 looked like in binary, just extend this list a little bit further until you've counted to 20, and you can do the conversion. And that's going to work reasonably well for small numbers, but for larger numbers, let's say we wanted to take the number 300 and turn it to binary, or take a long string of ones and zeros and figure out the decimal equivalent. I don't want to count all the way there just to do a simple conversion. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is show you how to convert from binary to decimal and decimal to binary, right, directly. But before you watch the video, I would say I have one suggestion for you, and that is try counting again by writing it down yourself. So this is it, before you go on, and try to count from 0 to 32 in binary by extending that pattern we did just a few seconds ago, and see if you can get there. And if you can count to 32 successfully in binary, then you should be ready for the next video. So thank you for watching.